In this series, my goal is to teach you everything you need to know to get started making Bukkit plugins as someone who has zero experience in programming. If you already know how to program, this series is not for you. I have another video series on my channel that goes over different concepts of making Bukkit plugins. If you are interested, I will put a link to the playlist in the description. This episode is going to be laying the foundation for us to get started, which means I'm going to be doing a lot of talking. So I suggest folding some laundry, cleaning your room, or doing something productive while you listen. Just make sure it's not mentally taxing so you are still able to process the information I am giving you. You may be urged to just skip this video and continue on, but you will be setting yourself up for failure. Programming is all about your foundational skills. If you have poor foundational skills, your code will reflect that. Not to mention, you may not even like it. With that said, cut to black. Let's start off by talking about who I am and why you should listen to me. This first reason is going to seem contradictory to what I just said. I did not go to school for programming. Allow me to clarify. I took various programming classes in high school and actually took a semester of C++ programming in university, then I dropped out. I consider myself to be self-taught. Now that I may have slightly discredited myself, allow me to share the skills I possess that make me what I consider to be a good programmer. I'm the kind of person who never stops asking questions. I will ask you so many questions you may want to reach over and slap me across the face. Completely understandable. I believe my desire to learn is my Achilles, my secret weapon. Now back to the question, why should you listen to me? Simply put, there is no one reason I can give to you as what makes me a better programmer than anyone else. Just like most programmers, I have excellent problem-solving skills. I also know how to let my creativity loose and come up with unique ideas. Another skill I possess is the ability to see more than the problem, not just think about how to solve it, but how to do it in such a way that provides a pleasant user experience and covers all the bases. I think of ways my program could be utilized and make it more easily comprehensible for those who are unfamiliar with it. It may seem like I have a few magic beans in my pocket, but I assure you all of these skills can be learned. I wasn't always this way. Just like any skill in life, I learned this behavior. You too can learn these skills. You could be 13 years old and you want to get a head start learning these skills early on, or you could be 50 years old wanting to learn these same skills. It doesn't matter where you are in life. With enough dedication and motivation to learn, anyone can pick up these skills. With that said, I will be teaching you all of this and more in this series. My goal is to send you off with the ability to solve any problem that you are given, big or small. Now let's talk about programming. What is it? Programming is how you interact with a computer, how you tell it what to do. Believe it or not, computers are really unintelligent. When I say unintelligent, I mean computers have an equal intelligence to a rock. They do absolutely nothing. The reason you're able to turn on your computer, type in a password, open a web browser, and scroll through social media is because someone told the computer how to do all of that. Based on what I just said, you may think programming is a super complicated process. It's actually surprisingly easy for what it is. This is because there are two levels of programming languages, high and low. Low-level languages are written using binary, ones and zeros. This type of language is called machine code. It is unreadable to the average person, even myself. We will not be talking anymore about low-level languages, just know they exist and possibly contain traces of magic. We will be working with a high-level language. High-level languages talk to the low-level languages, which then communicate to the hardware. In general, anyone who calls himself a programmer writes in high-level languages. High-level languages are written using English. Hooray! Fun fact, your high-level language code is actually translated into machine code for the computer to understand it. Now that you have an understanding of the two levels of languages, let's discuss the language we will be using in this series, Java. The original version of Minecraft was written in Java. Minecraft is the most popular game to have ever existed to this date. It's more popular than Tetris and Grand Theft Auto 5. We will talk more about Minecraft later and how it interacts with Bukkit, but for now let's continue discussing Java. On the surface, Java can be difficult to understand if you are unfamiliar with it. There are lots of bits of extra information compared to a language like Python. This can make the learning process slightly more difficult, but far from impossible. Java was my first programming language, and look how I turned out. I'm fine, I think. Right? Just kidding. Next up on my list of topics is the Bukkit API. API stands for Application Programming Interface. An API allows two separate pieces of software to communicate with each other. This is how you will be communicating with Minecraft, since Minecraft does not have its own publicly available API. One of the pros of having Bukkit is the API is designed to be backwards and forwards compatible. This is good for us because the server code changes quite a lot from version to version. Wow, okay. That was a lot of information. Do not be stressed if you can't remember it all. So what is the goal for this series? What are you going to learn and what skills are you going to acquire? Well, programming is all about understanding the fundamentals. There are millions of problems to solve and there are many ways to solve each problem. So how do you do it? It's all about breaking down the problem into steps. The thing is, there's a correct way to do it and an incorrect way to do it. When I say correct, I don't mean it like your math teacher does, expecting you to use a specific formula to reach a single solution. What I mean is how you go about executing those steps. Continuing the math analogy, learning the basic principles of proper coding is similar to that of addition. You can't solve the more complex problems without the basic foundational knowledge. Back to the main question. What are you going to learn in this series? Aside from the basics of programming and debugging with Bukkit and Java, I will be showing you how to break down complex problems into smaller chunks to create easily digestible information. I will also be teaching you my workflow, how I keep things organized both in my head and on my programs. Coming up with unique creative ideas is a skill in itself, which I will also be teaching you how to do. Knowing when to stop, take a break, and come back later is a huge skill not enough people have mastered. Sometimes you just need a little break, and when you return, the answer will be clear. These skills are not only helpful in programming, but are extremely useful in day-to-day life. So you clicked on the video hoping to learn how to make a plugin, and I gave you a lecture. Sorry about that, but programming is a skill, and just like any other skill, there is a lot that goes into it. This isn't something you will be mastering within a day, week, a month, a year, even 10 years. Don't get me wrong, you will have enough knowledge and practice within a month to continue learning on your own. Even the most experienced programmers in the world are still learning and still figuring out new ways to tackle old problems. For the last couple minutes of my time, I hope to inspire you and give you the motivation to continue. Starting with this quote from Josh Kaufman. The major barrier to skill acquisition isn't intellectual, it's emotional. This couldn't be any more true for programming. You're learning an entirely new concept and you're going to fail. A lot. For that reason alone, the learning curve can be super unrewarding. Don't let that discourage you. I promise if you push through and have the desire to learn and do better, you will be the best of the best. If you made it to the end, congratulations. I know you have what it takes to do this because you chose to sit through that entire lecture I just gave. You just took the first step in the right direction. Feel free to rewatch this video. I just threw a ton of information at you. That is all for today, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.